Hey douchebags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here.
And I'm Jeffrey Adami.
And welcome to our review of Run the Jewels 3 by Run the Jewels.
I know a lot of you guys are here for my electronic dance music content. I've kind of been trying to more expand on that this year. And a lot of that, me expanding this channel, is going to be doing collaborations this year. So I have my friend Jeffrey Adami, who's been in a couple of my videos. If you guys remember my Chainsmokers Closer review, he was the one playing Minnesota by Lil Yachty at the beginning.
Run the clip.
If you guys don't know, I'm really trying to expand on content outside of electronic music this year. If you guys don't remember, I did my XX review just the other day, which is more in the like indie pop vein, and I was doing that a lot more last year as well, but really trying to get more into the hip-hop vein of things this year. So Run the Jewels is a great way to kick off. If you guys don't know Run the Jewels, it is a duo combined of Killer Mike and LP, both who were significant figures in I think the early 2000s in the rap game, but didn't combine forces until I think it was 2013. It was either 2012 or 2013 with their first Run the Jewels album, and then they released Run the Jewels 2. I've actually got a nice copy of that album right here. My first experience with Run the Jewels. Actually, this album, fun fact, I probably would have featured it on my top 10 albums of 2014 list, but I didn't know it existed until after I made that video, so thus it couldn't make it. But it is a fantastic album. I do not plan on doing a throwback review of that one, but there are some more this year that I am planning on doing throwbacks for. But in the meantime, we've got Run the Jewels 3, which is, like I said, their first big attempt at making an album together since they released Run the Jewels 2 in 2014.
The way I got into Run the Jewels was a coworker of mine a while ago. He drove me home one night, and he just loves to blast rap music, and he not like that Migos type stuff where it's like all that same jeez but he I think he put on Banana Clip. What's Banana Clip? Banana Clipper off Run the Jewels, their first album. Phenomenal stuff. I really like the flow. The pacing, everything, it just had such a unique sound, and the beats were unique, and I really like it still holds true on the newer albums, like Run the Jewels, just the Run the Jewels, Run the Jewels 2, Run the Jewels 3, it's like a lot of uniqueness and stuff you don't hear in typical rap albums.
Oh, definitely. It took me a bit of time to actually get into Run the Jewels as a project. I originally found out about their existence from, of course, the needle drop, Anthony Fantano, Mr. Baldy Wonder. But I originally found out about him because I'm pretty sure he placed that album very high in his top albums of 2014 list. And then, of course, there were a lot of other people and lists that I was looking up at the time because that had been my first top 10 album of the year list. I was looking and checking out other albums around that time to see where people were placing different things, and I noticed that Run the Jewels 2 placed very high on a lot of different lists, that it was like one of the more respected albums of the year. So of course I got it without even really listening to it prior, and I was very impressed nonetheless with the content. I was very pleased with how ham they go into the albums right off the bat. Like they just go straight into it. I love really Killer Mike and LP. The main thing to take away is how much chemistry they have, and it's not necessarily only in terms of them as lyricists going back and forth, but because LP's production pairs very well with Mike as a rapper, which has been a key theme in the past, definitely. But with this album, really, it seems to be, of course, the production is definitely a key point and a part of this, because there are a lot of really hard-hitting moments that I feel like LP's production pairs really well with the kind of lyrics they're pushing through. But more than ever, this seems to be a very politically charged album, especially since we just got such an absolutely insane year this last year. I don't know if you guys remember my DJ Shadow, The Mountain Will Fall review, but back on that album, Run the Jewels did a feature, one of the few features they've ever done on a track, on the song Nobody Speak, which of course was one of my favorite tracks on that album, and of course they made references to Donald Trump and figures like that on that track. So obviously doing something like that just on a feature, this album was going to be a lot more politically charged, and I actually don't think they mentioned Trump by name on this album like they did on that feature. I don't absolutely quote me on that, but I don't remember hearing that. I know there are some indirect references scattered about, as we know, the track 2100 featuring Boots, I think dropped the day that Donald Trump was elected as president, and obviously that'll be, isn't the inauguration happening Friday? So this video will be up by then. But of course, there's a lot of, and I don't want to get into a political debate here because obviously me and Jeffrey do not share 100% the same political, but Run the Jewels, definitely they work together, and actually like a lot of my politics, like the way I think things actually come in through away from Run the Jewels, because I originally, you guys might remember the old Bernie sign that I used to have in all my videos. I originally got into Bernie Sanders because I watched a interview that Killer Mike from Run the Jewels did with Bernie Sanders, and that really turned me over into a supporter at the time. So obviously they were behind that. They take a more liberal approach to their music and how it's charged.
Yeah, I really like how you can tell, especially like in the later tracks of the album, they deal with important issues such as race relations. It's a big issue going on today. Race relations, and then there's police brutality, of course. And then there's a interesting song at the end. I can't remember which one it is. It talked about a friend dying, and that was a little, that got me here. That was a little emotional. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm glad that this album is less of a let me tell you how rich I am and how many girls I get and all the drugs and all that. It's not your typical rap album, or like what you think of when you hear somebody say the word rap. It's like they're trying to better themselves making this album, and they're trying to educate the people around them and letting them know like the real issues going on.
Oh, definitely. And I think more so than ever, this album, like I already said, it's more politically charged. We're more talking about things outside that realm. Obviously, we've seen them bragging about some things in the past. Not an overwhelming amount. I saw a bit of that on Run the Jewels too, but they always manage to pull it off with a lot of really clever metaphors and things like that. I remember some really weird instances on Run the Jewels 2, like talking about teabagging a piranha tank and running backwards through a field of penises. Just absolutely crazy things, and this kind of stuff that you never see any other rappers really coming up with. In this case, Run the Jewels 3 takes that to more of an extent than ever, and really pushing those boundaries.
What I do like is when they do brag in their lyrics, they're not taking themselves seriously. They're just, I like when I listen to the album, I like to think of it as they're just having fun, like trying to piggyback off of each other's ideas, LP and Killer Mike, just trying to figure out the best rhymes and like joke around with, like, I can't remember which song it was, but something about shooting a poodle.
Honestly, there's just a lot of chemistry with different things going on. Of course, we get Zach De La Roche from Rage Against the Machine, who comes back for a pretty killer couple lines on the final track of this album, Kill Your Masters. And we get some other really great names like Danny Brown. There are a lot of other really great names on here. Of course, Boots is back. He had one of my favorite tracks on the Run the Jewels album as his feature. So, of course, a couple names on the Run the Jewels 2 album do reappear, but I think they definitely make it worth it in this case.
When somebody says Run the Jewels, what do you think? You think of like a heist or like a diamond heist or somebody stealing something. When you listen to those albums, you have like a really, like, it gives you like a type of heist feel, like it would be like a perfect soundtrack to a robbery. That's what I think of it as. Like, I don't know, you're like driving down the freeway at 90 or whatever, you're just blasting. Yeah. Killer Mike and LP are just great musicians to the point where they know they know the feel of a song. They know what needs to be put in that song. They just nail it for every single track, especially if you need a good example of that, I would check out Run the Jewels off their self-titled album, Run the Jewels. One of the things I've always really loved about Run the Jewels is the way that they organize their albums, and I'm not sure if I 100% love the way that they did it with this album, but one of the things that I really liked about Run the Jewels 2 is that they just went ham from the very start, and then toward the end of the album we get into the more experience-oriented things. And the thing that I noticed about Run the Jewels 3 is that we kind of start off on that end. A lot of
complaints that people actually had about this album was that the first track of it, called Down, was a little bit too soft. Like, of course, it was talking about, it's a very important song in the track list, in my opinion. If this track was on Run the Jewels, it would have fallen later. Basically, that's kind of how people are looking at it, in my opinion, because it starts the album off very soft. Of course, LP does play his part, but it's mainly a Killer Mike track, I'd say. Kind of, it's definitely going to fuel fans of Killer Mike, looking more for him to drop solo stuff, although I don't see them not working together ever again. Obviously, we get this track, and then we get Talk to Me, in which seems like it should be the intro of the album. Of course, Down and Talk to Me do flow very well together, and that's nice, but obviously people that are more oriented to listening to Run the Jewels for their formats are going to prefer Talk to Me as an intro and kind of dislike Down more just because it sounds so odd as the album's opener.
I do like the flow of the album, like you said, with Down being a little more emotionally charged, and then they really get into it with the next few. It's more beat oriented, not 100% beat.
Oh yeah, definitely. Talk to Me and Legend Has It, called Ticketron. All of those are very much more oriented around the production than the lyricism. And then most of the rest of the album, I'd say, is very experience oriented, like the second half of Run the Jewels too.
When it comes to the beats, specifically the beats in the album, I like how they don't keep it just 4/4, like time signature. All you musicians will know. They do, most of it's 4/4, but they start out down in 6/8, and it really makes you feel like, oh, they put time into it. They care about the beats, the lyrics, everything. And even like hearing the beats throughout a whole song, it's not just the same thing over and over. Like sometimes they add unique elements to it.
Just really this time I honestly feel like this is LP's probably best project when it comes into terms of production. I just thought there were a lot of very unique elements in this, very creative sampling. I love the sampling on Call Ticketron.
If you go back to listen to Call Ticketron, you can hear Killer Mike reference to Eminem's Rap God. He says like, I'm a sumalama dimalama, you human, what I gotta do to get it through to you, I'm sleeping.
Okay.
I think Killer Mike just has an insane flow.
Oh
just like you listen to him and the way he does his like patterns, his triplet patterns. I really like how they stay consistent with their album artwork. It's like each album looks different, but
it's some great branding. They have the different themes, of course, as well. I don't know if you saw any of the concepts with that, but they mention how with Run the Jewels 1 it was about taking back what's yours, and then I don't remember what it was with number 2, but number 3, as you can see, the gun, the finger gun, and the hand that's holding the jewels. The jewels are actually gone. The chain is missing from the artwork. I'll actually just pull it up right here. The chain is completely missing from the fist, and the hands have become gold. So what they're trying to say with this album, as it's more politically charged and everything, is they're trying to focus on the importance of people in general, like the importance of people as individuals and how special they are. They're saying you are the jewel, you are becoming what you have previously treasured, basically. I just have to say I really love these songs where they just go absolutely ham. We've got Legend Has It, obviously. We've got Talk to Me, of course. Like I already mentioned, Call Ticketron. Party Like a Panther, I remember, was a really fun one too. I really loved the Boots appearance as always. I feel like I would have liked Down a lot more if it would have had a different placement, obviously. That's the major issue I have with this album. Other than that, I thought the flow was great. I'm not sure if I love this more than Run the Jewels 2, but I feel like for the length of the album, it was still really solid, really well put together work. There's not really a dull moment on this whole album. I think they kind of get that out of the way at the very beginning, and then from there they just keep it going.
My favorite track on the album was Stay Gold, mostly for like the hype it maintains throughout.
Okay, let's throw some ratings on this album. I'm going to let you give your rating. I'll reference you later for your favorite track, so I can put that into the description or whatever. Honestly, I'm caught somewhere between like an 8.5 and a 9 for this album. I really love it. I'd probably slap an 8.5 on it because I originally probably would have stuck Run the Jewels 2 probably around the same spot, and this album definitely has its ups and downs, but it's very similar in terms of quality to that one, in my opinion.
If you want to be a music reviewer, you have to be harsh, and you have to review critically. Always critically, that's the key point. So when I was about to do this review with Landon, as I was listening to the album, I was like, wait, this is like a good album. How can I don't see any points where I can like judge it harshly.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't have too much experience with rap albums.
Right.
I'm more in like the pop punk and metalcore and
I'm obviously more into the electronic dance music side of things. Like, it's very hard to slap. Like, you know something's quality, but it's very hard to really give a rating, especially with being two white men reviewing a Run the Jewels album. You know, like, a lot of the lyrics, especially Killer Mike's, is stuff we really can't connect with, and that makes it very hard to put a rating on it. I'm kind of just, when I slap a rating on it, it's honestly, like, primarily for the production of it and how well everything works together in terms of its overall concept, which I thought was really solid. Like I said, you just got that first track of the album coming in at a really weird spot, so that's the main thing taking away, you know.
Yeah, but honestly, I would have to probably give this like an 8.5. I know I don't have much, like I said, not much experience with rap, but after listening to the album 2 times, that's what I would have to give it.
I know, you know, it's impressive when, like, neither of us are really into the rap vein so much. When an artist like Run the Jewels is able to push out albums that attract the likes of people with such varying music interests like ourselves, which is kind of why I wanted to have Jeffrey on here, because he's such a different music listener than I am. We listen to things very differently, obviously. So kind of getting into that, though, Run the Jewels, they're just great, and you know that because they're attracting so many people from all kinds of genres. I don't listen to that much rap music personally. Of course, I'm into Kendrick Lamar. He's obviously doing some killer stuff right now.
Lil Yachty, Minnesota.
Calling Minnesota! Calling Minnesota! Run the Jewels, they're an outlier in today's rap scene because they're often referencing, in terms of their flows and everything, in the way they toss back and forth, they're very much referencing a much older style of rap where it's much more oriented around the story of everything. And with modern rap, like, I love trap and everything. Like, I will willingly admit I have unironically listened to Wyclef Jean by Young Thug like many times.
Have you seen the
in
music
the last
video
few
for
days.
that?
Oh yeah, it's insane. But as much as I can get down to this modern day trap and these rappers that aren't really known for their flows but and their lyric lines, it's really cool to see a group like Run the Jewels come in and do that again and attract such a wide array of listeners.
I know that the album isn't full-fledged hip-hop, but I really think it does pay homage to the genre of hip-hop.
Oh, definitely.
With the beats and the flows and the production value.
I think in primary it's definitely in terms of the lyric value. Like, they're very much doing different things, for sure, like their lyrical metaphors than a lot of rappers we've seen in the past, but they definitely pay homage to a lot of former rap icons with material like this. And it's very evident because, like, Killer Mike, of course, has been in a valuable name in the industry for a long time, long before Run the Jewels were relevant as a duo. So it's just really cool to see them doing this and blowing up as a duo together. Doing some unique stuff in the new vein. Obviously, there was the Meow the Jewels album, which is one of the most experimental albums I've heard in my life. I couldn't really get into it because of how crazy experimental it was.
And if you made it this far, type "come to Brazil and show us your feet" in the comment section below.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm Landon Remixes. As always, we have the Spotify link in the description, so you guys can go check out this album if you want to for yourself. Obviously, like I said, a lot of my viewers are going to be electronic music listeners, and I always try to push these albums more on listeners because I really want people to go and check out. Like, I've really expanded my music taste in the last couple of years, going into the more indie rock vein of things and
a little
rap
bit of
and
pop
things
punk.
like that. Yeah, of course.
And
And I've given some really good ratings to things like that, and I definitely want listeners in the EDM genre to check out this kind of stuff, because I think there are a lot of like trap influence things on this album and things like that people can definitely get down to if you're into that stuff anyway. So
I'm Jeffrey Adami. You can follow me on YouTube, but it won't do anything because I don't post videos.
Yee!
I also have 6 whole subscribers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is...
I'm gonna be linking you in the outro though, so because I know Jeffrey makes content. So if you guys want to sub him, not a ton of content, so you guys won't have to worry about him like flooding your sub box like PewDiePie did to me many years ago. That's why I unsubbed to him. But you know, like, you won't have to worry about it. But he's an entertaining guy. He's a good guy. Hopefully, I'll have him more on another project if we review some pop punk shiz or something.
Oh, definitely.
Or like another Yachty album drops. We might want to get into that. But no matter what, it's whatever.
Let me know what you think of me and if I'm a good person, because I need that validation.
But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this review, and we'll see you later. Peace.